as of right now. And like you said, a loss to Carolina could, in a weird way, put you out of the tournament.
Yep.
And that's just, maybe Carolina's got to take on the role of spoiler, but you can't expect a program to be willing to play spoiler role when they've never done that outside of 2010.
Plus, it doesn't help that they're not catching breaks. I said it in my analysis article. This team, the good news is they're playing up to the competition that's ahead of them in the ACC standings right now. But you're going to have to get, honestly, my biggest concern with them, can they get past that first round game that they're likely going to have to play as a double-digit seed? If they could do that, I think there's at least a chance, if the breaks go their way, that they can make a run, because they continue to show that when they play better competition, that they're going to hang around. This is not a team that's laying down and just taking a beating in these games. But then you play these teams like Boston College, Clemson, Wake, and they're just getting killed. They get that past that first round game, they'll have a chance. But at the same time, you got to have the breaks go your way. It hasn't happened all year. What's to say that's going to change when they get to the ACC tournament? I want to believe, like some of these other people do, that maybe they get hot. Maybe Cole Anthony turns it on. Maybe this team just gets some extra motivation. But at the same time, everything that they've shown us so far this year just says that no matter what they do, it's just not going to go their way.
Yeah, and time's running out to get hot. The games are getting lesser by the number count. And it's going to be an uphill climb to even put yourselves in a position for the AC tournament to be a factor, because right now you're playing on Tuesday. No team has ever won 5 games in 5 days in the ACC tournament. It's never been done. 4 games in 4 days is a tall task, let alone 5 games in 5 days. Anything else before we move on to Notre Dame?
No, not really. Just, yeah, I'm the other thing that I think maybe you probably wanted to bring up and talk about was there were a lot of people saying that they're just numb to it at this point, basically saying they just don't care. That's how I think some people took it. Somebody that I don't remember exactly who it was on the timeline, but I saw someone put it the way that I think it should be perfectly phrased. That, seeing the game in the Smith Center back in 2012 against Duke and Austin Rivers, seeing the buzzer beater in the national championship back in 2016, I think those types of losses, I'm not going to say that it makes last night's loss easier, but I think that it just, you felt what a real buzzer beater can do to you and rip your heart out. I don't think it was quite the same, on Saturday night against Virginia, but at the same time, I'm with you. If it's not hurting at least a little bit,
you don't care.
There's a problem. Look, I'm not taking it the same way as the national championship loss, nor should anybody. But at the same time, yeah, it continues to hurt because it was yet another game where you thought, okay, they're going to find a way to win. After Keeling makes the free throws, because, we were sitting there thinking he's probably going to miss 1 or 2 of these because it's just been that type of year. He makes all 3. All of a sudden, we're like, whoa, if we get a stop here, we're going to have a chance. And, they kick it to the corner. It looked like Leakey was in good position, but, it's just... It's just that type of year, and yeah, to me, it hurt a little bit, but I understand where people are coming from when they say that it's not quite the same as in past years because the team is just not quite as good. I understand. Still hurts a little bit, though, for sure.
Yeah. Well, they get another chance to get another heartbreaking loss out of their mouth. They get to go to Notre Dame, another team that, like Virginia, not even in the field. They're going to have to play their way in. Can't afford a bad loss at home to the bottom team in the ACC. Notre Dame, no matter the location, always gives Carolina fits. Whether it's in South Bend, whether it's in Chapel Hill, or they've met a few times in the ACC tournament. Mike Bray knows how to coach against Roy Williams.
He also knows how to wear tight shirts.
He also knows how to look like a packed sausage on the sidelines, as you made the statement last night.
He looks like a guy that is part of a mafia family in the off season. Like, am I wrong like that? Got the same slick back hair. I'm surprised the chest hair isn't just popping out of the shirt. Mike Bray, very fancy dresser. We all, I mean, I always think it's hilarious watching him on the sideline because he's just, every coach has their signature look, and you always see Mike Bray and you're like, yep, he looks like a guy that should be a Giorgio Armani, spokesperson or something.
Yeah, there's your breakdown on fashion. But this is a big game for Notre Dame because you get Carolina at home. Remember, these two teams met to start the season. Cole Anthony dropped in 34 points, was spectacular, most notably in the second half of that game. In a game that when that final horn sounded, you got a glimpse of what you thought Carolina could be. They dominated the glass. They made timely shots. Cole Anthony was everything we thought he was going to be in the offseason, hearing about the type of player he was.
And we didn't even have Brandon Robinson, so we thought if we got him back,
you weren't even fully healthy. And that's been the biggest highlight of this season, was that win back in early November.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with that and go with Oregon, the win in Atlantis, just because Oregon was ranked highly at the time. Nobody thought that was going to happen after they got destroyed against Michigan. But I get your point. Definitely up there, probably in number 1 or 2 in a lot of people's minds.
And now you're looking at a completely different situation. Carolina is now in the midst of their third losing streak of at least 4 games or more. They are 10-15, 3-11, or 3-12 in the ACC. And you don't know when it's going to end. Notre Dame's got a couple of pieces that I really like. John Mooney, walk-in double-double, which in college basketball is a rarity. This is a guy that can do it all on the offensive end, will stretch out and hit a three-pointer, can put the ball on the floor with a back-to-the-basket game, has a face-up game, and then the rebounding spectacular. They've always got great guard play because their guards are always balanced. They are never out of sorts. They know how to penetrate the lane and make plays happen even when they get caught in no man's land. It's going to be a tall task. Quick turnaround. It's just, how many times can Carolina get their heart broken and then show back up and be ready to compete for 40 minutes? You're asking a lot. But that's what they got to do. They've got to show up, play hard, play smart, play together, because if not, this can be Wake Forest-esque, where you get run out of the gym early in the first half.
I was going to say, very similar situation. A game against an opponent that you've not on the same level as Duke, but pretty much at this point we can call it a rivalry matchup with Virginia. It's become that over the last few years, especially since Tony Bennett got his guys going. And now you got a quick turnaround. This is a little bit of a longer trip even, and you're going up against a Notre Dame team that is still in the hunt for the NCAA tournament, but I think we can all agree, unless they go on a massive winning streak, they're probably not going to make the tournament. They just don't have enough this year. I think that Carolina should come in more motivated for this game because, like I said, this team is nowhere near as bad as Wake. Wake is absolutely terrible. Granted, they beat Carolina. Carolina is absolutely terrible at this point. But I think that Carolina's got to come in with the motivation to, like you said, play that spoiler role. At this point, you've got to realize that unless you win the ACC tournament, you're not making the NCAA tournament. It's just a reality. The wins are not there. There are way too many bad losses. And if we're being honest, I just don't think that the committee, even if you found a way to win out, is going to look at you and say, this is a team that deserves to be in the tournament. So Carolina's got to own up to that spoiler role. I'm really intrigued to see the matchup between John Mooney and Garrison Brooks, because these are two guys that so far this season have had dominant moments inside. I think that could happen once again. I think both of those guys will come in with a little bit of extra motivation going up against each other. I want to see how Armando Bacot builds off of his performance from the other night, because we've seen this at times from him. Now we're looking for him to sort of string together consistent games. Not just 2. I want to see 3 or 4 games like that back to back. Not in the 16, having 16 rebounds a game, but still I want to see some consistency from him. And the other thing, can Christian Keeling keep it up? But the major storyline is, can this team win a game with Cole Anthony on the floor? They have not won since he came back. And you would think that it's got to end at some point. But the question is, especially with how thin they are right now. I mean, look, they played 7 guys on Saturday night against Virginia and got no bench scoring in 29 minutes. It's showing you just how thin this team is, how limited this team is. Can they find a way to navigate that against a team that is going to be playing desperate? And here's the thing for Notre Dame. This is not just a game that, will keep you from, keep you in the NCAA title tournament hunt. I mean, let's be real honest. I mean, if they lose, it's almost kind of embarrassing at this point.
Yeah, they're 15-10. This is a loss.
They expect to win at home.
Yeah, this is a loss that will seemingly put you out and put you in a situation that you have to either win the ACC tournament or at least make it to Saturday night's title game to feel comfortable about your standing. Carolina winning a game with Cole Anthony. Carolina's a better team without him. That's evident.
I agree with that.
If you can't see that, then get your eyes checked and reevaluate your IQ of basketball. But he's still, in a weird way, you have a better chance of him winning with him on the court than you did without him, because of the lack of depth on the entire roster. Like you said, seven guys played against Virginia.
Yeah, Jeremiah Francis, we talked about this. He dresses at this point, unless there is an emergency, he's not playing. He's not going to play, and he shouldn't play.
7 guys playing for Roy Williams is extremely rare, because you normally see that not just only in the first half. You see that before the under 12 timeout, because we're playing 9-10 deep. We can't do that this year, and it's why every game's going to be a challenge. Notre Dame, not normally known for their depth, they're more deeper than Carolina. They're more experienced than Carolina. And they've got something to play for. I think that's why I think they'll win the game, is because they understand, kind of like Virginia, we can't afford a loss like this. We got to win. Mm-hmm. You got them on your home court. Even though Carolina is down in terms of their record, still be a packed house. It'll still be a lively environment, because you're getting to play Carolina in your home gym, and more importantly, have a chance to beat them in your home gym. So you're going to have to factor in the crowd. That place is always tough for us to go win there anyway. I don't know if it's going to be a long night for Carolina. I don't see this game being a single-digit loss and what will be a 6th straight loss for Carolina.
I think it'll be a single-digit loss. I think, like I said earlier, they've been playing up to their competition. I think they'll do it again in this game. For Notre Dame, like you said, they need to avoid a loss that's going to hurt their tournament resume. A loss to Carolina at home would hurt their tournament resume. They're going to come in with some extra motivation. I don't like a few things about this game for Carolina. I don't like the quick turnaround. I absolutely hate the fact that Notre Dame just got absolutely destroyed by Duke. If that was a game that was a little bit closer, I don't think Notre Dame would come in with as much motivation, but the fact that they were embarrassed, they're going to want to come in and show the tournament committee that, look, that's just not us. And I think all that just factors into what's going to be another loss for Carolina. And at this point, I mean, it's going to be tough to see them winning many games the rest of the way. We talked about it a little bit after that Wake Forest game. They're predicted to win 2 games the rest of the year, according to the BPI. And that's against NC State at home and against Wake Forest at home to close the season. Carolina's got to play that spoiler role, but I just don't feel like they're going to be able to do that on the road in South Bend in this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a tall task. The quick turnaround. It's the third Saturday, Monday turnaround for Carolina. Only team in the ACC, all 3 Monday games on the road. And big part of the reason